The story begins with Emily Jenkins, a dedicated social worker who spends her days investigating cases of child neglect and abuse. Her job is demanding, but she handles each case with persistence and empathy. One afternoon at the office, her colleague Wayne brings her a new file, Case 39. It concerns a 10-year-old girl named Lilith Sullivan, whose school reports show a sharp decline in performance and emotional stability. Emily opens the file and studies the girl's photo. Later that evening, she prepares for a date with Doug, a psychologist who often works alongside her department. They share an easy connection, though both know that their demanding jobs leave little room for personal relationships. That night, after returning home, Emily looks through the details of Lilith's case again. Something about the girl's situation catches her attention, and she decides to investigate further. The next morning, Emily drives to the Sullivan residence. The house is dimly lit, its curtains drawn, and the atmosphere heavy. Lilith's mother greets her coldly at the door, barely allowing her inside. The father remains silent, sitting rigidly at the table, while Emily tries to engage them in conversation. The family's behavior is strange, distant, watchful, and uneasy. Emily senses that something is not right. Back at the office, she tells Wayne that she suspects Lilith may be abused. Wayne advises her to proceed carefully and invites the family to the department for a formal interview. When the Sullivans arrive, the father suddenly speaks with unexpected calmness, explaining that their family is fine and that Lilith is simply a quiet child. Emily doesn't believe him. After the meeting, she finds Lilith alone in the hallway and gently asks if something is wrong. Lilith hesitates, then admits that her parents want to send her to hell. Disturbed by the statement, Emily urges her to make an official declaration, but Lilith withdraws in fear. Without evidence, Emily's superiors tell her to let the case go. Still, she can't ignore her instincts. She contacts her friend, Detective Mike Barron, and asks him to stay alert. That night, Emily receives a call at home. Lilith's voice trembles through the phone. She says her parents are coming for her and that she can't stay awake much longer. Emily races out of her house, calls Mike, and drives to the Sullivan residence. Inside the house, Lilith's parents are dragging their sleeping daughter toward the kitchen oven. As they push her inside, she wakes and screams. At that moment, Emily and Mike break down the door. They fight the parents and manage to pull Lilith free just before the oven ignites. The police arrest Edward and Margaret Sullivan, and the court later orders them to be placed in a psychiatric facility for evaluation. Lilith is temporarily sent to a children's home. When Emily visits her there, the girl pleads not to stay. She begs Emily to look after her, saying she feels safe only with her. Though hesitant, Emily eventually convinces the department to allow Lilith to live with her until a foster family can be found. Soon after moving in, Lilith adjusts quickly. She is polite, quiet, and always eager to please. For the first time in years, Emily's house feels warm and alive. Yet within weeks, small and inexplicable events begin to occur. Objects move on their own. The dog refuses to go near Lilith's room. A sense of unease starts to grow in the house. One morning, Emily receives alarming news. One of her other cases, a boy named Diego, has murdered his parents. At the scene, Mike tells her something strange. The call made to Diego's house just before the attack came from Emily's home number. Confused, she insists it must be a mistake. Later, she questions Lilith, who calmly denies making any calls. Emily tries to brush it off, but the unease lingers. She visits Diego at the hospital, hoping to understand what happened. When she asks about the call, the boy becomes terrified. He hyperventilates, and through shallow breaths, he whispers in Spanish that it was a man's voice who spoke to him that night. Disturbed, Emily turns to Doug for help. He agrees to evaluate Lilith's psychological state. During their session, Lilith appears composed and charming. She tells Doug that she is afraid of nothing. Doug gently insists that everyone fears something, and she asks what his greatest fear is. After some hesitation, he admits that he fears hornets. Lilith listens quietly, then smiles and says he should be afraid of what's coming. That night, Doug studies in his apartment when he receives a strange call. Moments later, he begins hearing a faint buzzing sound inside his ears. He rushes to the bathroom, trying to clean them, but soon sees hornets crawling out of his skin. In panic, he collapses, and his neck snaps as he falls against the sink. The next day, news of Doug's death spreads. At his funeral, Emily stands beside Lilith, her suspicion now overwhelming. She visits Mike again, trying to explain that Lilith must be responsible, though she cannot say how. Mike advises her to rest. Instead, she reviews old recordings from the Sullivans' psychiatric interviews. In them, Lilith's parents speak about their daughter as if she were not human. They describe her as a creature that feeds on emotion, especially fear, and say they lock themselves in their room at night to stay safe from her. Emily decides to visit them in person. At the facility, Lilith's father tells her that their daughter is a demon who uses people's fears against her. He warns that the only time she can be destroyed is when she is asleep. Soon after Emily leaves, both parents die under mysterious circumstances. Margaret burns to death in her cell, while Edward dies violently during a confrontation with another inmate. Back home, Emily realizes that Lilith is behind it all. After the sudden deaths of Lilith's parents, Emily becomes desperate to protect herself. She tells Mike what happened, and though skeptical, he soon experiences something that changes his mind. One night, while alone at home, Mike receives a call from Emily's phone number, but Emily is not the one calling. Lilith's voice comes through the line, calm and deliberate. Moments later, Mike imagines being attacked by dogs. In panic, he fires a shotgun at the hallucination and kills himself. When Emily learns of Mike's death, she understands that Lilith will not stop. She returns home and confronts the girl directly. Lilith responds in a calm, almost mocking tone, insisting that Emily belongs to her now. Emily retreats in her locked bedroom, terrified as Lilith's voice echoes from the hallway. The door begins to shake violently, and a deep, distorted voice calls her name. That night, Emily hides under her bed as Lilith enters the room. The girl's voice alternates between a child's tone and a man's. She crawls beneath the bed, telling Emily that all she wants is her love. Emily pretends to comply, waiting for the right moment. The next morning, Emily prepares chamomile tea laced with heavy sedatives. She gives it to Lilith, who drinks it and soon falls asleep. Emily quickly ties the bedroom door shut and pours gasoline throughout the house. She lights a match and watches as flames spread through the rooms. For a brief moment, she believes it is over. Outside, she stands in silence, watching the fire consume the house. Then she hears a voice behind her. Lilith is standing at the gate, completely unharmed. Police arrive to assist them and arrange temporary housing until further notice. Emily drives behind the escort cars with Lilith seated in the passenger seat. As they move through the dark road, Emily suddenly turns off the main route and begins driving faster. Lilith demands to know where they are going, but Emily doesn't answer. The car races down a narrow path toward a pier. Lilith tries to take control, using her powers to fill Emily's mind with a hallucination, a memory from her childhood when her mother lost control of the car during a storm. Emily struggles to resist, gripping the wheel tightly as rain blurs her vision. She repeats to herself that it isn't real. The illusion fades. Emily turns to Lilith and asks if she is afraid. For the first time, Lilith hesitates. Emily presses the accelerator and drives the car off the pier. The vehicle plunges into the dark water below. As the car sinks, Lilith transforms, revealing a monstrous face. Emily folds the rear seat forward, trapping her inside the trunk as water floods. Lilith pounds against the barrier, but Emily pushes through, swimming toward the surface. Underwater, Lilith breaks through the car's taillight and grabs Emily's leg. The two struggle violently until Emily tears free. The car continues to sink, carrying Lilith with it into the depths. Emily reaches the surface and gasps for air. She swims to the shore, exhausted and trembling. Behind her, the pier is silent, the water still. She stands alone, breathing heavily, her face illuminated by the faint light of dawn. For the first time, there is peace. The story ends with Emily walking away from the water, finally free from Case 39.